Hey, happy Friday, everyone. It's Rio. I'm in my office today because I recorded at home this morning using a new product on my Mac, Camtasia that I use here, but on the Mac. And I gave a great quick overview of the week. And when I went to play it back towards the end, it just kind of scrambled away. So I'm redoing it in my office. No worries, hopefully. So what I'd like to do is go over where we're at and what we're doing this week, which I normally do, but also give you that, where we're at, make sure we're on track with what we need to do to complete from here to the end. And also talk about Thanksgiving as well. So here's what we're going to do. I have the last lecture posted, and I'll talk about it when we get over to the looking at the course. But I will tell you that I really spent some time trying to figure out how I wanted to approach this, because there's so many different topics that I wanted to cover that just we didn't get to. We did get to a lot, but there were a lot that I still wanted to cover. So I've decided for the last lecture, we're going to focus on something more social. And social, in this case, what I mean is societal, and really about the cost of free, and not just targeted Google, really about all the things that we are expecting to have free on the web, but there really is a cost associated with them. And it's important to understand these concepts. And so that's why I'm going to have that as the last lecture. So what you're going to see in the next 2 weeks of hands-on and current topics is we're going to work on the things that you're going to need to do to get ready for your project too. Okay, so you're going to see that this week and next. And then pretty much as far as our work goes, that's it. It's kind of getting quickly at us. Okay, so let's turn to the course, take a look, and go over what we need. So the first thing I'll tell you here is that I noticed I scheduled things on the week of Thanksgiving, and I usually never do that, so that was a mistake on my part. So when we get to the week 16, which will be my next week's hands-on and current topics, because the lecture is already there. As a matter of fact, the lecture is the lecture on, matter of fact, let me just turn to it real quick. This week, week 14 coming in is the continuing discussion of payment systems, but in this case really starting to talk about, and I previewed this last week, the idea of, how revenue models, and how do we do micropayments, or how do we actually look at the way content could make money, and just a really good discussion, and that's why I chose this one. And then for the last one, as I talked about before, the cost of free, right? But going back here, what will be normally here, I will push these two to this last lecture, the 15th lecture. We'll also have these two items due. So I don't like to make things due over the holidays, okay? So, but just do know that once we get back from that holiday and you have that big items, all those things following, then the only thing remaining is the project, okay? So important to keep on track, and of course that's as I've previewed that we're going to be doing this week. So your current topics this week is you're going to look at this video, and this is about 24 minutes. I would say most of the meat of it comes really here, but I think it's good to watch the whole thing, because here's what you're going to get is that there's going to be two components I've figured out. By the way, I looked at your feedback already. I haven't graded yet, but I looked at the feedback on project 2 from you, and it seemed like most people seemed like this was a way they felt good and kind of excited about doing. Some of you gave me the feedback that you wanted possibly more than 3 major categories, something like 3 to 5, right? So I'm open to that, but what I would say to you is there are ways to organize. Remember, here's the idea. You have 15 topics that you select from the entire course. Now, when I say topics, typically that will be either the current topics, a hands-on discussion, or part of a lecture, because lectures lectures cover so much information that it really wouldn't make sense to cover that there's more than one topic in there, right? So you can pull out a specific topic and you pull 15 of those things. Okay, and again, what I would say to you is that first I want you to pull 15 things that you're going to really walk away understanding from this class. And then from that, you'll organize this into 3, and I'm going to call them high-level categories, but ultimately what they will be is end up being 3 menu navigations that will then be linked, those 3, with pages for each of them, and then linked into subpages from there to make a small website. And when we look at information architecture, which with this idea in the current topics this week, we'll show you an example of what he does in class with looking at a pizza website. And really, in this case, what you can do is you're not developing a pizza website, you're developing a website and I'm your customer. Your goal is to convince me of how much you've learned in this class by being able to connect these concepts together. Because it is pretty easy to connect topics from week 1 to this week together. It's just a matter of writing, which is the writing part of this, okay? So just giving you that overview, telling you why this week in current topics, I want you to watch this video. So let's come back over. Okay, so watch this video. Then what I want you to do is come up with tutorials and articles that would assist you in creating your information architecture for Project 2. Okay, and then post your links and write 150 words about what you've learned. Because when you start searching for information architecture, you're going to see a lot of stuff. And some of it pertains to what we're specifically looking for in Project 2, and some of it doesn't, because I'm your target audience. Your UI is important, but not as important. It's really about how you organize the information, okay? So just to be clear, there'll be 2 parts of the Project 2. The organization that you're going to start working here, the AI, and then the actual output itself, okay? Because every page, right, again, 15 pages, then every page will have some writing and then also your example of works that you've done. So in a sense, this becomes kind of a portfolio site, also a comprehensive, and but think about too, when you select topics, I'd like to see topics from the span of the course, right? Don't just focus on 1 or 2 weeks. Try to focus on the entire span of the course. Okay. So I think this should help you. Now, on the hands-on, what you're actually going to do then is actually build your draft of this, right? So, first pick your 15 topics, right? You're not locked into here. You're not locked into these topics until you submit your Project 2, okay? So, but start considering what they are, and just lay them out in boxes, right? So if I just do a Google search on information architecture, what you will see, I do know how to spell it, right? There we go. What you will see, and it's the example in the video is one, but it's also, here's an example, right? So it's really just about your how you're organizing the information that you're going to have. So, and the thing you can think about here is so these are all pages, right? So here's your main page, some content. Here's your first subpage linked off of here, right? So here's your navigation. And then you have subpages off of here. The thing this doesn't show that you can think about is that you can then interlink these together as well, right? So you can have this possibly linked to something over here to show a connection between these two. And I do want to see that, because not only do I want to see the flat idea here, but I want to see things interconnected, right? So you'll see me when I write up the requirements say, I want to see connections across, right? As well as down. Okay. So going back to the hands-on. So what you want to use is and let me just come to you and say, you can use whatever product you want. You can use to create this box idea. You can use that Mind Mister that we used before. You can use Google Docs because there's a nice drawing program in there. You can use, and by the way, what he uses in this video that you have for the current topics is PowerPoint. So you now can get, if you don't already have PowerPoint 2013, and it does a nice job, actually has a process that example he used in there. You can see that actual and do that one if you want. So I don't care how you do it, but you'll create your first draft of thinking about this, right? So again, think about those 15, think about those 3 major categories. This, you're not married to it yet, it's just the beginnings. Upload it to some shared site and give us a link, okay? And then write a little something about it. All right, so let's see, that's the current topics. I went over that. Geez, is that it? I think that's it. Okay, so I'm refining with you this week, or getting down to the nuts and bolts of what this project is going to be. And I will have, by the time you look at this next week, the writing, probably the outline done. But again, it's going to be 2 major things: the information architecture, the graphic, and then the actual output. And again, I've said this, you can use Google Sites if you want, or you can use the Bootstrap. Next week, I actually will walk you through using the Bootstrap, because if you're going to use Google Sites, there's a lot of tutorials we'll point you to if you want to use that. And I have one that I've done as well for CIT12, because I have my students create a small site on that as well. Again, I don't care which tool you use. It's really about, if you want to use something besides the Bootstrap, if you felt like that was a little too much, if you like that idea of bootstrapping and you want to continue it, then you can do that as well. But next week I'll show you how, if you're going to use Bootstrap, I want you to do it. And then next week's current topics will be actually probably feedback on a course, because that'll be the end. Wow, hard to believe, right? So this has been a really cool semester for me to do this, is to really just take this course, totally scrap what I'd done before and redo it from the beginning. I feel really good about it. The only thing I feel kind of bad about is what happened in the middle with DevFest, but it was also fun to do DevFest, so that's what happens when stuff takes you away. So anyway, have a wonderful weekend, and I will chat with you next week. See you later. Bye.